Hi there, my name's Zeke. I'm an engineer at GitHub, and I want to give you a quick overview of a new product called GitHub Actions. So if you've used GitHub before, you probably know that you use it to store your code and to collaborate on your code. But GitHub Actions actually makes it possible for you to execute and run your code on the GitHub platform. So GitHub Actions is free for open source projects and has a certain number of minutes included depending on what kind of paid plan you have. So for most cases, it's actually free to use and it's easy to get started with. So the way you use GitHub Actions is by adding these YAML workflow files to your GitHub repositories. So the act of adding this YAML file is all that you actually need to enable an action on a repository. You don't have to opt into the feature. You don't have to enable it in your settings. You just add a new YAML file in a directory called .github/workflows in any one of your GitHub repositories. So a really common use case for creating actions workflows is running tests on your code. So I have here an example of a workflow that runs tests on this NPM node project. So you write a workflow file that typically will check out the code from your repository and then runs a series of commands to run the tests. So this workflow runs npm CI to install dependencies. Sorry about that. Runs the build script if it's present and runs npm test. And what this ends up looking like when you open a pull request is that you have a check that is included here that runs those tests on your files. So this is a really basic test here that just runs on the latest version of Ubuntu. But you can also write your tests to run on multiple platforms. So in this example of another PR I've opened on this repo, you can see that I've added this matrix of different operating system versions. There's Ubuntu and Windows. And so it'll run the same series of steps on multiple operating systems, and it can also run on multiple versions of the programming language runtime you have. So if you're writing a Python project and you want to test on Python 2 and Python 3 and Windows and Ubuntu, you can write a workflow file that supports all four of those different combinations in the matrix. So the way that ends up looking like in your pull request is that you see an individual test for every sort of pair in the matrix. So we have an Ubuntu test and a Windows test here. When your tests don't pass, you have this really nice interface for being able to see exactly what went wrong. So for every check that runs on your actions, you have this checks tab for every pull request, and you also have an actions tab up here on every repository. And it breaks down the steps into individual collapsible elements and then shows you the full error contents of what went wrong. GitHub Actions also has a feature called secrets. So you can go into a repository and add secret key value pairs. Like in this case, we're adding some API keys that are secret. And these can be used in your actions workflows. So here's an example of a workflow that publishes a package to the NPM registry. So whenever you push to the master branch, it runs the build and the tests on Ubuntu running node 12, and as a last step, it runs this semantic release command using npx and passes the necessary secrets to that command using this secrets configuration here. So the values that you set in settings/secrets then become available inside your workflow file. So you're keeping your secrets out of your repository. You can configure GitHub Actions to run just on every push, or you can configure them to run only on pull requests, or you can configure them to run on branches that match a certain name, or you can exclude branches that match a certain name. So this is an example of a workflow file that is only run when you push to master. So if you create a pull request and you push up a branch, the workflow won't run on that branch. It only runs on master. So this is an example of a workflow that publishes search data to our Algolia search engine every time we do a deployment to our master branch. Actions also has a scheduling feature. So in addition to being able to respond to push and pull request events on your repository, you can also have an action that runs periodically. So here's an example of an action that we run once a day to check all the links on our website. And you could have this kind of check just run on every pull request, but this particular check takes at least an hour to run. So we like to do it once a day. And this cron can be configured to run every 5 minutes, once a week, 4 times a day, whatever you like. To get started, you probably want to check out the Actions org and the Starter Workflows repository in that org. It has a whole collection of YAML files for different types of programming languages and different environments that should make it really easy to get you started. There's also extensive documentation on GitHub Actions at help.github.com/actions, and it's available in multiple languages. Lastly, I put some of this content into a demo repository, which you can reach at zeek/github-actions-demo. And that's it. Hope that was useful. Thanks.